creator, okay? Chapter 2.
What, I don't want to say the same thing they do.
They said creator.
Ruler.
Ruler, okay. 3.
Judge.
He's a judge. Oh, guys, let's go home.
That's it? That's all then?
You taught your lesson. This is great. Best talk ever. Okay, so I have a few things. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have about 10 points that I wanted to share with you based on these chapters. So, chapter 1, what was it about? Huh? Creation. And then what was the last chapter about? The fall. So it's from creation to the fall of Adam and Eve when they ate from the tree that God told them not to eat from. Okay? All right. So one of the first things I wanted to mention is that God is a provider. So what does that mean? Do you guys, like, when someone tells you, like, tell me about your God, what would be like one of the first things that you say about him? That he's what to you personally?
Forgiving.
He's forgiving, yeah. He's loving. What else?
Like a best friend.
He's your best friend, yeah. He's also a provider. So what does it mean to be a provider? A provider is someone that's going to give you what you need. And so in order to give what you need, what do you have to do? If you're serving like little kids, or if you're helping with your family and you're going to be a provider, what does that mean? What would that look like? What do you have to know in order to provide?
Their needs.
You have to know their needs, right? And so for God, when you look at the story of the creation, if you look at the end, what was the first thing that was created? Oh, sorry, what was the last thing that was created?
People.
Huh?
People, man.
Man. Okay, so before all that, what did he do?
Created everything else.
He created everything else. Because man could not literally survive without anything else. He needed everything else. He needed the birds, he needed the water, he needed the plants, he needed everything. So God is a provider and knows our needs. And then I think that was in chapter 2. Chapter 2, where he says he then saw that Adam was alone. So what did he say? Let him, well, no, he said, he didn't say that. In verse 18, he said, it's not good that man should be alone. I'll make him a helper comparable to him. So yeah, he got him married, but he didn't say let him marry. There was no one to marry. So he had to make him someone just like him. So he didn't take Eve from like the butt, she's not under him. This is for both young men and women. And he didn't take it from his head, the skull, where he's higher than her. He took it from the side, where she's equal to her, okay? And by his side. So he's a provider, and he knows exactly what we need. But sometimes, do you guys feel like we know that, and we're sure of that, or no? Do we feel like all of our needs are met at all times? Yes or no?
No.
Not all the time. So does that mean that God is not a provider when our needs are not being met?
No, because those things, like, they take time.
Okay, take time. So it might not be something that I can have right now. Okay, what else?
Might not be good for you.
Might not be good for you. So he said it's not good for man to be alone. So he's like, okay, this is not good. I'm going to give him what he needs. So very true. Okay, so that was one of the first things I wanted to talk about. So God didn't only care about what Adam needed, we also cared about, if you think about the sequence of the creation, did he make the fish first before the water? No. He made the water first so the fish can live. He gave grass first so the animals can eat. He gave, so the way that he did things was very organized and very intentional and very thought out. And that's how God is. He's not like, oh yeah, let me put this stuff together. No, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he is very intentional about our lives, about everything that comes, about everything that goes, and everything is under his control. So anytime you feel like, oh, I think life is going weird, or I'm not getting what I want, or like things are just not right, just know that he is still in control, and go to him and ask him like, Lord, what's going on? Like, help me to understand this. Help me to see how you're providing for me in this moment, even though I'm not getting maybe what I want or what I've been praying for. And he is such a faithful God that he will show you like, okay, this is maybe not good for you right now, or maybe later, or he'll show you something better. Okay, so God is a very good provider, and he's the only one that would satisfy our needs. Okay.
Can I just add one word to the word provider?
Mm-hmm.
He's also not just a good provider, he's a very precise provider.
That's my next point.
Oh, sorry. Well, at least you know the Holy Spirit is working, so there you go.
So what I was going to say, that God is very intricate, precise. He's very good at what he's doing. He's not just like, so like when you read in chapter 1, so thank you, John. When you read in chapter 1, he's very precise about what he did. He's like, okay, there's water everywhere. I'm going to separate this. I'm going to separate it exactly right here. Oh, I think like Diana needs this. I'm going to do it at this time, and she'll meet this person, and they'll help her with this thing, and then that thing. So he's very precise, and he's very intricate about his provision. It's not just like throwing mist at you and like throwing something at you and just hoping that you'd catch it. It's like, no, he's very precise, and he's very intricate about what he's doing in our lives and in the world. And that is unchanging about him, whether we see him or not. So I'll let you. Do you want anything to add to that?
No, that was brilliant.
Okay. Well, at least we're on the same page. Okay. What else? So he is a provider, and he's very intricate, and he does good things. So in the first chapter, what was some of the common words that were used in that first chapter? Every time he created something, what did he say?
It was good.
It was good, right? So he does good things. He's not like a God of evil. He's not a God of evil. He is a God of good. And that could get us into like a whole different discussion, but God is in control of everything. He allows anything to happen. So he doesn't cause bad things to happen, but he does allow them. But he is a God of good. Okay, and will always turn things out for our good and for the good of the world, and ultimately our salvation and the salvation of the world. Okay? Okay, so he's a provider, he is precise and intricate, and he is good. Okay, what else? So he also is someone who is very loving towards us. I don't expect you guys to read my mind, but I'll see if you can. So chapter 1, where can we say that God truly, really loves us in chapter 1? It's towards the end of the chapter, specifically around verse 26. So where can we see that he truly loves us in that? In chapter 1, verse 26. Okay, yeah, that verse.
Let them have dominion over everything.
Why would that be a sign that he loves us?
Because he's allowing us to partake with him in like ruling or in like naming. Like he's given us that authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else? You're not wrong. That's very true. What else?
There's a verse that says increase in number. God bless them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. So he wants more of us.
He does. Definitely wants more of us. Very true. Okay, so I'll tell you this. So God is very consistent, right? The God of the Old Testament is the same in the New Testament. And there's a lot of people who attack Christianity and say like, no, it's not. So in verse 26 it says, let us make man in our image. What is that referring to? Why is he saying us and our?
The Trinity.
The Trinity, right? So this is one of the first times in the Old Testament where the Trinity in the New Testament is being mentioned, okay? So just when someone is attacking your faith and telling you like, what are you talking about? It's a totally different God. It's not. It says right here, he's very consistent. Let us make man in our image. So that's the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit with all of their characteristics. So he truly loves us, that nothing else would have satisfied his love for us other than to give us what he has, is to make us in his image. Does that make sense? Okay. So what do you think about what I just said? Does that make sense, or is that like completely over our heads?
It makes sense.
So he loves us because nothing was good enough for him except himself to create us on his image, right? Okay. And going back to what George said in that same verse, it says that God, he said, I'm going to create man in my image. And what he said, so that he would have dominion. Okay? So he created us in his image, and he had given us to be courageous and to be above this world through the power and through his image that he put in us. Okay? Yes?
Sorry, this reminds me of my question. Might not be fully related to this. But Book of Genesis is in all the Bibles, right? All like Catholics used to have it and all that. So if they read it, how do they still believe that we were monkeys and became human? When it says
Who's
that
they?
created man. People here in science, I mean, this is the science here. This is what I learned in middle school. They taught us
Evolution,
we
you
were
mean?
a monkey. Like nobody said anything about Adam and Eve. He said there was a monkey, and she was Lucy. Like you guys are familiar with the story, right?
So basically you're talking about evolution, right? No, you guys went to school, yeah? Okay, because you're getting him worried.
But they still have Book of Genesis. So how do you leave this and you look at the science part?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. Two things. One, sometimes people, they don't believe in the Bible, so it's irrelevant to them what this says. Okay, so just because it says it in the Bible, they don't believe that the Bible is true, and so it's not important to them. But I will tell you something, that even those people who are fighting so much for saying that this is not a true story, they don't have all the answers, and every year and every time there's more research, more answers come up that they didn't know. So how do they not believe? I don't know, but they don't. Jonathan, you have anything to add?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, when if God is not a part of your life, right? Like, what did Jesus told St. Peter? He said, "Blessed are you because the Father has revealed this to you," right? So God tries to reveal Himself to everyone, but in the Bible it says some people are going to have eyes, but they will not see. They're going to have ears, and they will not hear. So just because they have a Bible in their hand doesn't mean they see the truth. A lot of times they have the Word of God in front of them, but they want to believe that there is nothing bigger than them. There's nothing more important than me. So it's important for me not to believe in a God. Because if I believe in a God, that means I am not the ultimate being. And a lot of the science of evolution and all these things really stem from the need to feel like I am the ultimate being. So I'm going to look for ways to try to disprove that there's somebody bigger than me, right? But even evolution itself, with all the scientists that believe in it, it's called a theory, right? If they had the option to call it the evolution fact, they would love to do that. But even them, in their own studies, in what they're teaching in schools, they still call it a theory. And when you start learning science, what do you do with a theory?
Test it.
You have to test it to prove if it's right or wrong, right? So even the scientists themselves say that what they're saying is a theory.
Sorry, that wasn't a relative thing. Yeah, okay, thanks.
No, it's good. It's good to know how to answer these things and to be loving towards someone who doesn't believe what we believe, and to have the answers to help them. So it's a very good question. Okay, the next thing is that I like, because you brought up a very good point actually. So God is very direct, right? There's a lot of confusion in today's world. Would you guys agree or disagree? There's a lot of like, do whatever you want. Nothing is standard. Nothing is real. That's not how God is. That is not our God who died for us. Okay, so in the first chapter, when he was creating all the different animals and birds and all of that, what did he say when he was creating these things? Chapter 12, verse 12. Chapter 1, verse 12. What did he say?
It was good.
No, I don't want to get all this. What's something else? What else did he say? Before he said that in that verse.
Everything according to its kind.
Everything according to its kind. He called it by its name, right? He called it, this is a fish, this is a bird, this is a man, this is a woman. He is not a God of confusion. And all this confusion that's going on right now, that is not from God. We don't get to decide if you're a man or a woman. God already decided that because he is not a God of confusion, okay? So that's one thing that I love about God is he doesn't confuse us and he doesn't change his mind, okay? Because there's nothing more frustrating than when you're depending on something and all of a sudden it changes, okay? So he's not a God of confusion. So anytime there's confusion in your life, just know that it's not from God and the devil is trying to kind of find his way in. And that's when you pray, that's when you go to your Father of confession, go to your servant and test what is causing me to have this confusion because it's not from God, okay? It's okay to be confused, but it's not okay to stay confused. So seek the answers and talk to someone who can help you and talk to God about what's causing you to be confused, okay? All right. He's also a God of balance. So where do we see that in the chapters that we read? Or is he a God of balance?
Just in chapter 1 or chapter 2?
It's chapter 2.
Okay.
So chapter 2, the first couple of verses. Where do we see him as a God of balance?
Balance between working and resting.
Yes. Do you guys think we do a good job with that? Did you hear what George said?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Working and resting?
Okay. Is resting laziness? Is it the same thing?
No.
Okay, good. It's not. So yeah, he's a God of balance. He doesn't want us like running, and not creating space for him, space to rest, space to enjoy all the things that he's created for us, he's given to us, things that he's allowed you to work hard for. So he's a God of balance. So anytime you feel burnt out is not from God. Okay? This is how this all relates to our life. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna come and learn this thing, and like we are made in his image. So if we are not reflecting his image, the God of rest, the God of balance, the God of no confusion, then something is going on, and that's when I need to go and seek God's help. Talk to your servant, talk to your Father of confession, say, Lord, this is what's going on. Don't let it invade your life. And we live in Nova. I don't know if you guys knew that, but we do. So in Northern Virginia, it's very, very busy. Do you feel like it's a really busy area? Like, how is school for you? I graduated a long time ago, so like, is it really busy right now? Like, how does it work? What are your days look like? Who's in college?
Everybody.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay. Is there someone who's graduated college? So how would you describe this time in your life right now? If someone tells you like, how's your day? What would you tell them?
School, work, sleep.
So, okay. In that order? Okay. Do you feel like you have time to rest? So what we do with that rest time is really important. So not on our phones, not on the TV, our rest is to get to enjoy. It said, and he rested from all his work which God had created and made. So it is to enjoy what God has given and has done, and to spend time with him, learning from him, and focusing on God, and just allowing us to get recentered, okay? So anytime you find yourself just like, do you know what a hamster wheel is? Like a hamster in a wheel? Don't do that. It's not healthy, and then you really get nothing done. Is the hamster going anywhere? No, it's probably gonna fall and die if it keeps going like that, okay? So we don't want that. So anytime you find yourself doing that, take some time to rest, and don't be that hamster on a wheel that's not going anywhere, okay? All right. So, okay, and one of my favorite things about God is in chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. So what does it say? Chapter 2. So chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. What does it say?
The Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden. And that's what he said?
Mm-hmm.
But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For when you eat from it, you will certainly die.
Okay, why is that simple?
Just telling you what not to do.
It's very clear. It's very simple. It's like if you eat from this, you will die. Okay, again, he's not a God of confusion. It's very simple. I think a lot of times we try to complicate God, but he's really not that complicated. He's very simple and he's very gentle and he's very direct. Like if you eat from this, you will die. If you do this thing that I'm telling you not to do, there will be consequences. Yes, I will forgive you. Yes, I will come and rescue you. We'll see that later. But there will be consequences. Okay?
Sorry,
So,
quick question. Let's just give up right now. So, at that time, there was nothing bad. Nothing. So, how would they understand the word die? If you eat from this, you will die. So, how would they understand that word if they didn't know anything bad?
no, they know they were alive.
They were alive,
Mhm.
but didn't they know what death is then?
Yeah. I mean, they understood that it's the opposite of their current state. So if your current state is life, if you eat from this, the opposite of what you have now will happen.
But nobody experienced it yet, or nobody.
Yeah, but when God speaks a word, it's an automatic understanding in their mind. Like, it's not like he has to show them an example. Like when he says to them, death you shall die, in his word, the explanation already exists in their mind. Don't forget, he created them from dust, right? So it's like saying, you know, how did they know how to use their hands? Nobody has ever had hands before. Yeah, but when he created them, he gave them the ability to know how to do things innately. And a part of that is when he speaks to them, they understand exactly the meaning of the words he said, even if they hadn't had that experience before. So when he says, death you shall die, as soon as he uttered the word death you shall die, that understanding is now in their mind. He who created them is not hard to create an understanding of a concept, is what I'm saying.
So,
And the reason we know they understood is the conversation with Eve and the serpent.
yeah, so this is what I was
Clearly
actually-
she understood what it meant.
So later on, the serpent came in and tried to, this is the opposite of, we said God is not a God of confusion. What did the serpent come and do? Confused. She's like, no. What God was saying is like, no, this is really what he was going to do. And she came and the serpent came and confused and caused this like, told us things that were not real about God. And that's what the devil still does this till today. You know, he'll come and he'll be like, no, God doesn't love you. You did this sin and you fell a long time ago, even though you repented. He doesn't love you. Or like, this happened in your family. No, God can't fix that. That's all from the devil. It's coming and it's trying to create confusion to separate us from God, which is exactly what it did in Eden. Okay? So don't fall for it. Don't let it fall for it. Anytime you are confused, especially about your value in Christ or God's love for you, that's not from God. Okay, know that the devil is trying to attack you because the devil also knows your value, just like God knows your value, and he doesn't want you to rise up to that. Okay? All right. So, he's a God of balance. We already talked about that. What happened?
Try to
Just in the way.
I'm used to this.
Oh,
Huh?
I didn't ruin it. You guys are just horrible.
What happened?
Nothing.
I missed the whole thing?
Yes, you did. It's okay,
Confused.
maybe we'll
That's
catch up.
that's not from Glenn. No, I'm confused. Okay, so I'm almost done. So we're going to go to chapter. So who can actually tell me what I just talked about?
We're almost done.
No, we're almost done with my talk. I don't talk very long. So tell me, what have we taught? God is a God of what? What am I missing? Literally everyone is laughing. I need to know.
Just tell her.
Yeah, right.
They're not doing it, but I told them that in the middle of your talk at one point, I'm gonna scratch my beard, and they're all supposed to yawn at the same time.
And then nobody did it. That's why.
But nobody did it.
Yes, they do.
Like, I was like
I thought you
this.
were gonna stand next to me.
Can you not see this?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well. Okay.
Oh, did you?
Wait, you just wait. Okay, focus on me. What did I just talk about? What are some things I said about God in the chapters that we've read? He is what? Okay. What else? Well, he's a provider. What else?
Precise.
He's precise. Okay.
God of order.
Hannah? Huh?
God of order.
Yeah.
Not gonna use it.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Straightforward and direct. Yep. What else?
Balance.
Balanced. The adult in the room understands.
I need it.
Yeah. What else? When he created us in his image, two things from that.
Love.
One starts with, yeah, love. What else? Starts with a D. Not that one. I'm just kidding.
Diversity and inclusion.
I said dominion. He has dominion, right? And so do us in the things that he's, entrusted us with in our life. He gave us dominion over over everything, okay? With his help, not because I can, but with his help, because we're created in his image. So don't ever think like, oh, God gave me dominion, I can do this. No, you can't. You need him, you need his help, and you need the intercession of the saints, and you need your prayer. It's not just an independent effort. And anytime you see someone doing that, don't follow them. Tell them to talk to somebody.
So can your life ever be out of control? Can your life ever be out of control?
Out of whose control?
Like just out of control. Like you wake up one day and you're like, I don't have control of my life. Everything is going crazy. Like, is that real? Can your life really be out of control?
No.
I mean, if you don't have God in your life, then
You, us as Christians, can our lives really be out of control?
No.
No, right? Like Didi was saying before, that's a trick of the devil, right? That is a sort of confusion that he tries to insert into our lives. When we feel like everything is out of control, it just means that I'm not connecting with who? With God, with the one who gave me that dominion to rule, right? So when I stay far away from him, I lose that sense of dominion. I lose that sense that I'm in control, but I'm supposed to be in control through him, right? So, yeah.
All right, and one thing I wanted to share, one of my favorite quotes from Pope Carlos, kind of whenever I feel like unsure or like, I know like a lot of us, you might be praying for something or, hoping for something or waiting for something and you're like, it's not happening and you keep praying. But know that like God does care about our needs, even the smallest ones, even the ones that you can't verbalize, like know that, even if it's just a whisper in your heart or in your mind that you don't even want to think about or hope of because you just don't think it would ever happen. Like God cares about those things. So don't ever be too afraid to set your expectations high of him because he is able to meet them. But I want to share a quote from Pope Carlos. It says, I'm sure you guys have heard it. I hope you have. If not, I think you should memorize it. It says, trust that God sees you, he hears you, and he feels for you. For your little matters are very big before him and his love. He loves us so much that even something so small, if it matters to you, and is good for you, he will do. And your big matters are very small before his might. So something that seems so intimidating and so big, like God is so much stronger than that. So know that, trust that God sees you and hears you, and he hears you and feels for you. So your little matters are very big before his love, and your big matters are very small before his might. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about chapter 3 really quick, a few things to learn, and then that will lead you kind of into next week's discussion. So what was chapter 3 about? If you had to title it in one word or two, how would you title it?
The fall.
The fall of who?
Man.
So why is it the fall? I learned not to assume anything. Why is it called that? Do we know the story? Why is it the fall? What's happened?
¿Lamas nervios? Los nervios.
He listened to his wife.
And who did she listen to? Okay. Okay, and she told her, no, God is not telling you that so you won't die. He just doesn't want you to be like him, right? So she started to trick her, and she believed, she fell for it, and they ate from the tree of good and evil. How many trees are talked to about this? I mean, there's a lot of trees, but the specific trees that were mentioned, because this confuses some people. And I'm not a theologian, so I'm not going to try, but I know a few things that I can share. So there were what? Okay, one is what?
Multitude of evil.
And
The tree of life.
the tree of life. So they ate from which one? Okay, so then when that happened, what did God say? He said, if you eat from this, you will die, right? So what would happen, and life is like everlasting life, okay? So if God let them stay in Eden, where they now know good and evil and they're dead to their nature, what would happen if now they are eating of the tree of life? And life is like forever life. What would happen?
If staying dead forever.
Yeah, right? So it's out of his love, even when, did you guys hear what George said? Okay, so it's out of his love. He's like, no, now you did what I told you not to do. I told you not to eat from this tree for a reason. You will die, you will be separated from me. Don't do it. And now I have to kind of move you out of this place, because if I don't, and you eat out of this tree of life, you'll stay dead forever and stay separated from me forever, and God just can't have that. Okay, so that's why this happened, and that's as far as I can go into it, because I don't want to make stuff up, but just know that this is the reason why. Okay, so the God, not only is he a just God, so do you think is there a difference between God's love and the consequences of our actions? And can you tell me, so let me say this, let me ask you this a different way. When we reap the consequences of our actions and the decisions that we make, does that mean that God doesn't love us?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
His love is like never changes.
Yeah, his love never changes.
My expectation changes.
Yeah. So, does God still love when someone takes out a gun and shoots a person and they die, and that person who killed goes to jail? Is God still loving? Okay, why? The guy went to jail and the other guy died, so.
But he did the wrong. There's still he did the wrong, so there's still physical consequences.
Okay, so there are physical consequences to our actions, but that doesn't mean that God doesn't love us, okay? He forgives us, but we just have to be careful, because he did create us in his image. He gave us free will, right? And yes, he'll bail you out, he'll help you, he'll take care of you, but there will be consequences. So this is why, like right now, you guys are in the best time of your life, so just be careful of the decisions that you make, the friends that you keep, the things that you watch, the people that you talk to, because there are consequences to our actions. Even though God is loving and God is sovereign and has dominion, we get to choose what we do. And if we do things that are hurtful to us, there will be consequences for that. And a lot of times they're painful, but God will be in it with us, but he can't prevent them from happening. Okay, like when you take a gun and shoot someone, they're gonna die. Don't do that, you go to jail. Okay, does that make sense? Do you guys see what I'm trying to say? Okay, but even in that, you see how amazing God loves us, that he created man in his image to be in union with him. So when man fell and chose something else, God had to send them out and say, okay, I can't keep this amazing thing, this relationship that I wanted with my son and daughter to stay severed forever. I have to take him out, and now I'm going to send my son, because it's the only way I can fix it. This is how much he loves us. So we see his love, but also his justice, right? I told you, if you eat from this, you're gonna die, but now I have to send my only son to fix this whole thing and bring you back to me. Does that make sense, that last part? Okay, I'm done. Do you guys have any questions or comments or?
Can I ask a question? Why?
Me?
What? No.
Well then.
Why did God tell them, if you eat from this tree, you're going to die?
Or is it true?
Was it? It was poison.
What?
test to see if they would do it?
To give them
Test of
free
the
will.
loyalty?
To give them free will? They had free will already. So what is it that God was doing when he said to them, if you eat from this tree, death you will die?
He wants to see if they trust him.
He wants to see if they trust him. He knows.
He wants them to see.
Didn't he know they were gonna really
They
like
won't
do
obey
it though?
So he knew. So what was he doing when he told them, if you eat from this tree, death
Testing.
you will die?
Or just giving them free will to do what they want?
Obedience.
No.
To see if they would choose
Testing.
him.
Was God telling them, if you eat from this tree, I'm going to punish you with death?
No.
What was he saying to them?
If you eat from it, then there's gonna be consequence. Like, you're gonna die.
So what God was doing is God was revealing the consequence before it happens, so he can save them from it. Right? When God says to them, if you eat from this tree, death you shall die, he's not saying, if you eat from this tree, I'm going to punish you with death. He's saying, when you decide to walk away from me, when you decide to do the opposite of what I am telling you, the natural course of things will be death. Right? He's explaining to them the natural consequence. Like it's like what Didi was saying. If you shoot somebody, you will go to jail. Right? If I come and say to you, if you shoot somebody, you will go to jail. Am I telling you I'm going to punish you by sending you to jail? Or I'm just telling you that's what happens to people that shoot somebody. They shoot somebody, they go to jail. Right? God is saying, what happens to people that choose not to be with me is they fall into darkness and death. So, even in allowing us to experience the consequences of our actions, this is God's love being played out. Like a lot of times we think of, oh, he's letting me experience the consequences of my action because that's how he is just. But it's not only an image of his justice when I'm experiencing the consequences, right? It's actually an image of his love. Because if he doesn't allow me to experience the consequences, will I ever learn? Right? So it's important to understand how deep God's love goes. That even when he told them, death you shall die, that was an act of love. He was revealing a consequence before they had to go through it. So that way, when they choose it knowingly. They don't choose it unknowingly.
It's a question that we're not having an answer. We're not God. So I feel like, why did he have to create this tree? Why? In the first place, it's like he wanted to start this whole thing. Like that's just how I feel.
So he gave them free will, okay? So is it really free will if I just, there's no choice?
Yeah. Other trees to choose to eat from.
No.
Just whatever.
No, that's not really a choice. When he's telling you, don't eat from this, there's your choice.
Well, I feel like we're being taught about free will because of the way we've been taught about free will. So the way we've seen how free will is, if we've seen the free will to choose from two different trees just to eat from them, then we would look at our free will to look into things as just a choice between good and good instead of good and bad. It's just the way that we've seen things, and that's why we see it this way until now. And it's explained this way.
Well, let me ask you this. Were angels created in the image of God?
I don't know the experience.
Are angels created in his image and likeness?
Tomorrow.
What? They are?
I think so.
Then why did he create humans?
To be like him. Like eventually.
Which means what? Which means the angels are not created in his image and likeness. Right? The reason he created humans is because we are the one being that God created to be a true son and daughter to him. So that created an issue right off the bat. If I'm going to be a true son and daughter to him, I have to be truly exercising my full potential to be the Son of God. Does God have any limitations on himself? No, right? So when he created me, he had to give me the opportunity to remove any limitation, even the choice to continue to be with him. If I had a limitation on me, if my limitation was the fact that I had to be with him, then I am not truly his son and daughter.
Well, at this point, the limitation was if you eat the tree, you're not going to be with. There is
No. The limitation is the choice whether I want to be with him or not. Now, if I made the choice, if I make the choice that I want to be with him, I've still removed the limitation. Because it's no longer a limitation, it is now a choice that I'm choosing him. So there had to be something to allow me to remove all limitations from my life. And that's why St. Paul in the New Testament says what? All things are available to me, but not all things are edifying. As a human, God put no limitations on me. He said, do what you want. But here's the road to the light and to life, and here's the road to death. I will not force either on you.
But he created both life and death.
He didn't create death.
So I mean, he created everything, so death would not.
Death is the lack of God. So he created the opportunity for somebody to choose not to be with him. Because otherwise, I am not truly his son and daughter. Think about it on a human level, right? On a human level, how do you know when somebody is born to somebody? What do you check? No. Check their DNA, right? Their genetics, right?
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
when they get pregnant. Okay, sorry.
So for me to know that I am the son of my parents, you have to check my genetics and it matches. And it's the same equation with God. Right? The genetic makeup, the spiritual genetic makeup of me as a son and daughter have to match the Lord. And the biggest part of image and likeness is the idea that I have no limitation. I can choose anything, including not to be with him.
It really bothers me, that's all.
I hear where you're coming from. Like why would God create it, or he knows we're gonna choose.
Right.
We can talk about that when after.
No, yeah, sorry.